Faith can move mountains. Radio Maria, 91.3 FM.
The voice of truth.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Active Citizens here on 91.3 FM Radio Maria, the voice of truth. I'm your host, Bella Ann Ndubuisi. I should say hostess because I am a woman, clearly. I'm your hostess, Bella Ann Ndubuisi, and it's such a pleasure to reconnect with you once more this Friday afternoon. I hope you've had a pleasant week. I have. My week has been okay, and I think I'm most delighted to have my special guest on the show today, who I will be introducing shortly. But in the meantime, for those who are tuning in for the first time, thank you for joining. To our regular listeners, we are most honored that you always tuning at 4 p.m. to be a part of this show. Once again, for first-time listeners, I'm thrilled to welcome you on the show. As you know, Nigeria has the youngest population in the world, and young Nigerians have demonstrated time and time again their innovation, their drive, their resourcefulness across sectors and disciplines, both in Nigeria and globally. And we've also shown that we can be key players in redefining the future of Nigerians. And so this show, Active Citizens, is born out of the need to shape a new generation of young patriotic Nigerians who are committed to contributing positively towards nation building. And on this program, we seek to achieve three things. We want to first educate our listeners on some of the importance of volunteering and civic engagement, and some of the opportunities that are available to build professional experience through volunteering. Something else that we seek to do is to spotlight individuals who are already, spotlight and celebrate individuals who are already active and leading change in their communities. And so I'm very excited, like I said earlier on, about our guest on the show today. And last but not the least, through this show, we hope that we would inspire you by the stories that you hear, to go and be the next generation of citizens who are influencing positive change in their communities. Before I bring in our special guest and introduce our special guest on the show today, I want us to take a short musical break. But I think for those who are listening, this is one of those shows that you actually really want to pay attention to, because we have not just our special guest on the show, but we have lots and lots of giveaways. As you know, this week, today is ending the International Education Week. It's also the Global Entrepreneurship Week. So I have quite a few books here to give away. I'm not even going to talk about whose books and what we're giving away yet. All of this, you want to make sure you tune in and stay tuned when we get back from the break. All right, welcome back on Active Citizens. Still your hostess on this show, Bella Ann Ndubuisi. I am very pleased on this Global Entrepreneurship Week. Our theme today is shaping education for future entrepreneurs, right? So if we're going to be talking about shaping or raising in the next generation of young entrepreneurs, what kinds of education how should we be preparing them for the future where they will be successful and they'll be able to compete with their peers? And I have with me here the co-founder of Bambini Africa. This lady is like many things. I feel like I have to then just reel out a bunch of different things that she's doing. She's the co-founder of Bambini Africa. She's the co-founder of VoluServe. And we're going to get a chance to learn about all the different things that she's involved in. She's had a very long and successful track record working in the nonprofit sector, but also in the public sector, and now in the entrepreneurship space. She's written several different books focused on children, which is why we thought it would be a great idea to have a conversation around how we can shape education, because she's focusing on the audience, the most important level, the foundational level. So we're very pleased to have, ladies and gentlemen, drum rolls, on the show today, Raquel Kasham Daniel. Raquel, welcome to Active Citizens.
Thank you so much, Bella. I can call you Lady Bella.
Thank you for being on the show. For those who are listening who may be hearing Raquel Kasham Daniel for the first time, I always like my audience to actually be the ones to introduce themselves. Please tell the audience who's listening in today a little bit. Who is Raquel?
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I love radio, so I like it here. My name is Raquel Kasham Daniel. I'm the founder of Beyond the Classroom Foundation, where I work with children, especially children in low-income, marginalized, hard-to-reach communities. Our target is education, basically. But we realized that in order to get children educated, there are barriers And so what we did was design a program that has a four-step approach. So first, how we get children enrolled in school. We get them to stay in school, because then we realize when we enroll them, after a while they drop out of school. And then we find a way to ensure that they excel while in school and graduate, especially from primary school. So that's our four-step approach to ensuring that children graduate from primary school. And then I also co-founded VoluServe, is a volunteering platform. It allows young people to upload, if you have a non-profit or you have a volunteer opportunity, you upload on the platform, and then if you want to volunteer, you go there, sign up, and then find volunteering opportunities so that you can be, like you say, an active citizen. So also I earlier in the year I fully started Bambini Africa, and the goal was because I'm very passionate about children and what children learn, and based on my background, and I realized that it was good that I started to create products that would help them learn better. So I started to write books that were targeted at every area of a child's life. So I hope to write 1,000 books before I die.
Wow. We hope to read all your 1,000 books, as they come out. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're like the perfect individual to be on this show. What some of the things you've talked about, for example, the organization you run, VoluServe, is designed to identify opportunities for volunteers to be involved, which is, like you earlier on said, one of the reasons why we started this program. A lot of people are looking for ways to get involved. They're asking why should they get involved, right? But you already have a product which is designed to do this, to help people to navigate all that process. On this show, we want to dig deep, right? Because there are individuals who are active citizens, and you've seen them engaging, you've seen them shaping, you've seen them doing everything they're doing, right? But some people wonder why. Are there, what is it that makes people choose to do one thing more than the other people? And so we're always curious to know what inspires the individuals that we bring on this show to take the path that they're taking on. So as you reflect on your, experience or on your background as an active citizen, what would you say inspired you to think about others, think outside of yourself, and think about how you can be, change, as opposed to waiting for change to happen to you?
Okay, so for me first, there were different things at different times. So the first thing for me was I think was pain. So I look back at my background. First, I'm the first in my family to go past high school. I was at secondary school. So and then, but my dad told me when I was 9 that no one has ever achieved that. So it was his dream that I go past high school. So he always said, after secondary school, you're going to go to a tertiary institution. I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? I said, because no one has ever done that. And so pain, because I looked around at the time and realized that a lot of people in my family didn't have the opportunity I had while I was in University of Lagos. And then I met a boy who, when I was going to school, had no socks, had torn uniforms, and I just thought, what, this could have been me, but I passed through the hurdles and I'm here today in university. How can I help? So pain. And then when I got into the system, it became anger. Because I'm like, why is the government not doing something about this? So I got really angry. And so the pain brought me and the anger kept me. And so that's why I do what I do. So now, after looking back and realizing that I didn't only achieve my father's dream of being the first to go past high school, I was the first to do many things. And so, and I started to meet kids that were just like me, or are, because I still meet them. I still met some of them a couple of days ago. And then they would say, oh, no one in their family has gone past primary school. I'm like, okay, mine wasn't that bad. And then I said, okay, how can we help? And the parents would say, oh, if you can just enroll them in school. That's the first step. And so meeting those kids along my journey, the pain of just knowing that there are kids out there who would want the opportunity but didn't have the opportunity, and then realizing that it wasn't expensive, enrolling them in a government school, for instance. So in a private school, it wasn't that expensive. So that pain, and then the anger that people should be doing something about it, especially the government, so I just kept going, and that I've been doing for 13 years now.
It's amazing. 13 phenomenal years, and you've gotten a lot of kudos and accolades for the work that you're doing. I really personally want to say thank you for all that you do, because oftentimes active citizens do work that is thankless, but guess what? That's what is called for. The Constitution gives us some privileges that we ought to enjoy as citizens, but we also have some responsibilities, and we ought to appreciate those who take time, to think about life outside of themselves and what they can do to make, the community and the world around them a different place. For somebody who's listening in now and wondering, oh my goodness, she's done all this stuff, how do I even start? Where can I start, right? Talk to us a bit about your background, your academic background, because that's often also, in Nigeria, people tend to, and you study one thing, but then sort of life throws apples, oranges, pineapples your way, and you end up sort of meandering through that all and end up on the other side. Is any of what you're doing now connected in any way to your academic background?
Yes. Fortunately, yes, because I got into university, I would not say late, like every other person. I got it was really already matured. I was 21. So I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wasn't gambling, I wasn't gambling. I just knew that I wanted to work with children. And I'd worked in a school long before then. I had to work because my parents passed when I was a teenager. It was really difficult. And so having worked in a school before I finally got into university gave me a different perspective. Like, this is what I want. I want to work with children. And so when I was filling my form, so I had to dump what I was feeling before all the, when I saw the law, I wanted to do this. I just knew I want to work with kids. So I started to read the brochure. So if I want to work with kids, where do I work? And then I thought, education, that's the department I'm going to. So I applied to go to University of Lagos to study education, education administration, University of Lagos, because I wanted to do this job. This is what I want. This is what I'm doing in my life. And I knew it from when I was young until I got to school and graduated. I knew that is what I wanted to do.
Amazing. And you had you spent some time working in the public sector.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience and how is that, shaping the work that you're doing now, if at all it is.
Okay, so along my journey, I started to understand the importance of mentoring. So I was a teenager at the time, and I'll just go to older people and ask them questions. I wanted to just learn from them, and that's how I didn't know that I was going through a lot of mentoring at the time. If I thought who's mentors, I'm like, oh, I've had them forever. I really didn't know that I was deliberately going to them to ask questions. And so one of my mentors, used to say, and I used to complain a lot about what the government isn't doing, how the government should do this for education, how the government, she said, you know what, you can volunteer to work somewhere. I'm like, where? And she said, well, in the government, find a job. I'm like, okay, I will. And then in 2016, I became very serious about going to work for the government. I wanted to understand why they can't just fund education for children. Why can't it just be free, or what can I do to just be in the space and understand how it operates, so that if I ever have to say anything bad about the government, I know that I've been there, I understand what it is. So when people saying the government is not doing X, Y, Z, I can actually say something concrete. So when I got the opportunity to apply for a job on one of the projects of the Office of the Vice President, I took it because I knew that it was an opportunity to really be in the sector and see what's happening. And it was 2.5 long years of learning. And when I came out, I came out because I wanted to go back to writing books, because it was a lot of work. And that's why the whole idea of government workers don't do nothing just fell off my eyes. I'm like, no, we were working till 11 p.m.
Wow.
Because it was a lot. But then it gave me a more perspective of how the government works. I saw the corruption, yes, of course. I saw good leaders, and I saw people who had who still have a heart for Nigeria, who were serving diligently, and so it gave me a different perspective. And I want to go back in a few years, but I took a break because I was overwhelmed there was so much to do, and so I had to take a break to go back to writing books for children and just ask myself, I'm going to go back now, what sector? I knew I'm going back to the education sector this time around. I'm particular, but the first time it wasn't. It was just get an idea of how the government works. Yeah, and sort of learn, which I did. And so now I know exactly where I want to go. So most of the things I'm doing is I'm targeting towards going back into the government to do some reforms and something around policy, basically, for education for children.
That's fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Raquel Kasham Daniel. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of giveaway things for today. Some of them include books that are authored by our guests for today, but another one is a book that is authored by a very dear friend of mine, and he talks about his experience 35 years at the bar, a decade It's been 10 years since he passed the bar. So for people who are listening and who are lawyers, this would be a fantastic resource for you. But we'll talk about all this and more when we come back from our break. Don't snooze or you'll lose. All right, welcome back to Active Citizens. Your hostess still, Bella Ann Ndubuisi on the show, and with me here is my guest, Raquel Kasham Daniel, and we've been talking everything education and also her background coming from the nonprofit sector, going a little bit into government, and now full-on entrepreneur, founder of Bambini Africa. Raquel, I'm very curious to find out, what has been your experience so far, running Bambini Africa?
So I'm very careful to say what I'm about to say because okay, well, this is an easier platform, so let me feel free.
Yes, please be free. No, what's the word called? No, we're not censoring you in any way.
Okay, so I would say it's been easy. I've heard a lot about entrepreneurship before I jumped in here, and when I wanted to go into social entrepreneurship fully, people say it's very hard. It's what are you gonna sell? People will buy your books. I've written books for like 10 years. How many have I sold? And I keep hearing that, but I didn't let what people did or happened to them, deter me. Saying earlier to you, for me it was divine calling. I heard it clearly. I had to focus on working with children, and so I started to tell God, okay, so show me what do you want me to do with kids. I already tried to enroll them in school. We're currently fixing water stations in schools. I was there this morning already. So what else do you want me to do with kids that we're not doing already? And so God started to show me clearly they wanted me to write books that would outlast me and would impact children. And that's where the idea of writing books that affect every area of a child's life came in. I saw it in a vision. It was very clear. And because I dream dreams, so and then I woke up that I just wrote it down, write a book, that affects every area of a child's life. So from hygiene to hand washing to safety to bullying to name it. I just keep writing. It just comes and I write. And I say it's easy because it was a divine call. I don't have to start selling, or trying to get people to buy or cajole people. I just always have funders for the book, and just God gave me a strategy that just works. So entrepreneurship has been amazing.
That's fantastic. We really hope that it stays that way. And I think, going on from what you said, the books that you're writing, that you're reading now, right? When I think back, and reflect as a child, the kinds of books I read growing up, I remember them being, especially as a child. I think as a teenager, there were more there were more books from the continent. I know I read a lot of pace setters books, there were a lot of those, right? But as a child, what did you wish that was available for you to read that you didn't have, and is that sort of shaping the way that you're writing now?
Honestly, I didn't get a lot of books when I was growing up, so I couldn't tell. My dad used to be a police officer, and he used to be an orderly for this rich dude, and then the man would give him loads of books, but then he would bring the books home, and instead of my mom to allow us own the books, she would give them out to other kids. So I think my volunteering activism started from my home because my mom gave out everything, and so even though sometimes I would get some of the books, very few, but they're all foreign books. I couldn't remember seeing any nice, African. I can't remember. I didn't have that many, but I couldn't remember. But the reason why I'm focused right now writing books, the style I write, African children especially, my characters are Yuba, for instance, Kamsi, would be all local names. It's because now working in the space for 13 years, I try to buy books for children. And then we go to bookstore and I don't find nice looking, beautiful colored Nigerian books. Even African books, I'm like, why can't we have nice looking books? So when I started to do this work, I just knew that it was God led me through all that to get here. Because I started to see where I was frustrated when I go to the market and I was looking for books. So even though I didn't have the luxury of owning nice books, or I can't even remember. I know I owned a few of them way back then. But when I started doing my work, it was difficult for me to find books that had representation for the children that I worked with. And so that's why right now, if I write a book, I have representation from all sides. So religion, disability, I just try to cover every area so that children will find themselves, especially their skin color, and also find themselves in their representation in the book. So minority, so I mentioned local governments or states in Nigeria that are minority states or minority locations, so that children can actually say, oh, I know someone from that village, oh, that's my village, something like that. But I didn't find those in the last 13 years that I was working in the sector. I wanted that to change.
And you're doing a fantastic job at that. Well done. How early do you think we should start children, start to introduce them to the idea of entrepreneurship? And in what ways do you think that this can happen?
Entrepreneurship, okay, so my book I'm writing, I wrote a book recently on entrepreneurship. It's not launched yet for children. The alphabet book on money or something, I don't know, but it's part of the alphabet series, one of the books you're giving away today. And when I was writing the book, I kept asking, what age should I be? And I thought 5. I thought 5 because right now with a 3-year-old, there's not much I can teach her about entrepreneurship, but there's so much I can teach her about money at 3. So I show her that she has a piggy bank. I told her she has a bank account. When people give her a gift, she said, "I'm putting my online piggy bank, which is the bank account, or putting my physical piggy bank." So about money, yes, early. You can start it as early as 3. But about entrepreneurship, I think 5, because at that point they already have an understanding of what work is. Because now I don't think my 3-year-old understands my work. I just say, "Mommy, you go to work?" Yes, and that's it. But at 5, they would be able to. So I think at 5 would be a great age to start to introduce them to the concept of entrepreneurship by showing them entrepreneurs that are excelling in the field, and even showing them the failures of entrepreneurship, so that they can begin to understand that they can start selling anything and they can even write their own books.
I vividly remember, I think this was probably like 5 years ago, Christmas 5 years ago. My nieces, they probably were around 10. So there was one that was probably around 10, the other one was maybe like 8, and then their other so my mom's brother's daughter was there as well. So the dynamics is older, so it's my brother's children, right, with my mother's brother's children. So you see, it's like an auntie uncle dynamic, but they're the same age. So oftentimes they'll tease each other and say, "But I'm your uncle, I'm your auntie," but I mean they're like literally a year apart. But anyway, so these kids are friends, they're playing and playing. But I think one thing that caused brouhaha, and this is why they say money is the root of all evil, is that one day they decided they're going to make orange juice and sell it. So when they were making orange juice and giving it away, it was fine. But the day they decided to sell it, and then the money started to come in, and then the sharing of the money, like how do we share that, started, the dynamics. Then they remembered, well, but I did more work, but you did this, so it's interesting that you say 5 is at least when they start to understand a bit of the dynamics of, what do we even do with this money, and start to even think about ideas of what they can start doing. Because in other parts of the world, I know that kids start early, right? So whether it's selling lemonade or selling this and that, so they start to, whether they do anything with money or not, but the piggy banks, like you said, they're able to just stash those money. So they get a little bit introduced early on into that concept, which is why I'm glad that I'm happy for what you're doing with Bambini Africa, because we definitely need to get more kids thinking about entrepreneurship early on, because we're going to say that we want to be a production-driven economy. Then we don't wait until kids graduate from university to start to expose their minds to ways that they can earn or they can produce and be productive citizens within their own country. Wow, so much shared already. So why don't we talk about the 3 books that we're going to be giving away today? One of them is Squeaky Clean, and this is good for boys, good for girls as well. Squeaky Clean. Tell us a bit about Squeaky Clean, by the way. What's the...
Okay, so Squeaky Clean it's just like it is, Squeaky Clean.
Squeaky Clean.
So it's a personal hygiene book. We have the blue one for boys and we have the pink one for girls. So it just covers personal hygiene tips for adolescents and teenagers.
So there's Squeaky Clean. We're also going to be giving away The Boy Who Didn't Wash His Hands, and Flow. Flow is a girl's guide to menstruation. So these are all 3 books written by Raquel Kasham Daniel. We're going to be giving a copy of those out to the first 3 lucky callers on this show. And I think the last one, I haven't decided what do you call it, criteria for giving this one out yet. But I hope that it goes to maybe somebody who's aspiring to be a lawyer. And that's A Decade at the Bar by Jake Okechukwu Efodo. He chronicles 3 of his law school colleagues. So all 35, not 30. So all 35 of their stories are shared in this book. You can imagine, and they've all gone on to become successful, lawyers, some not even practicing law, some practicing law, but you can imagine what an explosive book this will be. So you want to make sure you stay tuned. After this break, we'll continue our conversation. We're going to open up our phone lines for conversation and questions, or interaction with our guests on the show, and then we'll begin the book giveaway. Don't snooze or you'll lose. Welcome back to Active Citizens. Still your host on the show, Bella Ann Ndubuisi, and I'm here with my delightful guest on the show, Raquel Kasham Daniel, and we have been having a really exciting conversation about Raquel's work cutting across nonprofit sector, public sector, and now private sector. And thank you so much again, Raquel, for honoring this invitation to be a part of this conversation. Now we're opening our phone lines for those who would like to engage and be a part of this conversation. 081-084-475-18. Again, the number is 081-084-475-18. The first 3 callers will get a chance to, win the book by our author today, Squeaky Clean, The Boy Who Didn't Wash His Hands, Flow, A Girl's Guide to Menstruation. All right, while we wait for the calls to start to come in, Raquel?
Yes.
So this show is about encouraging, people to understand that volunteering is indeed a pathway, towards getting a long-term job, or even just exploring a different kind of career. In what way would you say volunteering has actually helped you as a professional?
Also, my first job at the university was a volunteering opportunity. I was recommended for this job, but when I got there, I was told, they needed someone more advanced, with more degrees and everything. And I thought, okay, great, but do you have an opportunity to volunteer? And they thought, great, we would like to have you. And it's funny because when I got on board, I now led the recruitment for that role.
Wow.
So I led the recruitment for that role, and the person who got the job never forgot. And she kept saying today, "You hired me. You were an intern. You were a volunteer. You hired me." And from when she walked in, I knew she was going to get the job. And I just said, "This is going to be the new executive director." And people were like, "How do you know?" I said, "I know," because I read the job and I knew what the requirement was. So as she walked in, I knew she was going to get the job. So my first job was volunteering. Even when I got my other job, I was working 3 days a week. 2 days a week I was volunteering. I volunteered all my life. My mom, when I was a kid, my mentors, most of them I reached out to say, if you need someone that I really work 3 days a week, if you need someone to go with you to events, hold your bag, make sure that I give out your cards, so I'll take numbers for you. I'm available. And they were like, "You would do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would." And that's how I was volunteering. And you see me working with some people, and you go, "Are you there at PE?" I'm like, "No, I'm just volunteering." And that's why I'm very passionate about volunteering, because volunteering really changed my life drastically. Even getting into the public sector, it was because I volunteered with a person, and the person kept saying, "If you can do this for me or with me all these years for free, I believe strongly that working here will not be a problem for you." And I gave my best. So you can't. I kind of overemphasize the need to volunteer, because I met my husband volunteering. I like to say that to people so that it make them happy.
We have a caller on the line. Oh, no caller on the line. My bad. So sorry about that. So volunteering is not just a career pathway in your case.
Yes.
This is also how you met your husband. So this is, like you said, it opens up all kinds of doors for you. You get to meet several different people. Were there specific skill sets you would say that you built while volunteering in these different roles?
Another thing is, it was through volunteering I met you. So you see,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, event plan, especially coordination, event planning. Mobilizing volunteers, mobilizing people. I learned that all volunteering when I was in University of Lagos, NISEC. We would even marketing, sales. We would go into do a marketing pitch. We didn't know what it was, and then we'll go sell at a conference while we're still students in Unilag, and we'll have a seller conference. We have sponsors. We walk into any organization, because at that point there was nothing to lose. You say yes or no, and we go back to school, right? But so it made us dare to just do anything. And so we learned all sort of skills, even to presentation. I remember one of my jobs, I was working at the at a training firm. And my boss was saying, are you sure you've not worked in a training firm before? I'm like, no, but I used to volunteer, we used to train, we used to have conferences, and I used to anchor and moderate. Just like, no wonder. You just can't come out of university and just be all cooked, you know, but that's actually the benefit.
And these are all experiences that you write into your CV, correct? Because you did them.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that I struggle with now is understanding a lot of young people that you interact with. They're waiting for that job to land, the one that will pay them to land. And in the time where they're waiting for that job to land, they're not doing anything. So they're wasting valuable time that they could have been spending gaining valuable work experience that employers are willing to pay for, right? So for those who are listening and maybe now want to explore this, what's the best way, right, to explore volunteering? Is there a strategic way to do this, or do you just do anything that comes your way?
No, don't do it. If you're already doing a lot of things just to find what you like is good. But if there's something we call volunteering, right? And we have something we call effective altruism, where you do it the right way. So and so it just means that you're not giving money to the poor because somebody's hungry. You're thinking, how can I get this person out of poverty? So just giving the person a handout. So it's the same thing with volunteering. And you're just saying, what kinds of places can I volunteer that will give me the skills that I need for the jobs that I'm looking for in the future? So you're saying, if I want to be a lawyer, for instance, can I volunteer? Or a human rights lawyer, let's be specific. And you said, I want to be a human rights lawyer. Can I volunteer with a non-profit that is a human rights non-profit so that I can get the experience here? And it will help you in my law career, because it will. So not just volunteer with a law firm, but you can work with a human rights non-profit. So it's first outlining what the next 10 years of your life you want it to look like, or what you might not be there, but it's what you like to. And then say, the skills that I need, where can I get these skills? And then look out for the organizations or non-profits that you can get the skills from. And when they do that, you write them. And just like you write a regular employment letter, or you're asking to volunteer, and just say, this is where I live, like we do when I was in uni. I used to teach people to say, this is where I live. It will cost me X, Y, Z to come from home. These are my skills. If you hire me, you can only pay my transportation, and I'm good. So most of the people that wrote this kind of letter got the opportunities, and they're called back to say, no, we don't have an opening, but can you be an office assistant where you're just shadowing somebody here and learning? And that's how they start to get into the work, and then they learn the work. So don't just jump into doing just anything. And understanding that there are different kinds of volunteering opportunities. There are actually passive volunteerism and there's active volunteering. Because the passive one, like a rally, you don't really necessarily gain anything, maybe networking with other people, but you can't put those kind of skills in your But then an active volunteering opportunity would be ensuring that, for instance, if you have guests, the person who reaches out to your guests, gets them to be here on time, calls them up, and the person is here all dressed up, ensuring that your cameras are ready, and you just show up and looking pretty, and you run your show, and the person does everything. The person builds the skills needed for the job, maybe to work in a radio station or even a company, eventually. But just showing up at a rally and just, or holding a placard and saying we want justice, is passive volunteering. Is not enough. So understanding that there are different kinds of volunteering also helps.
I think it's very important, actually. What I really like the specific example you gave about students at Unilag and how they'll write a letter that specifically details the cost, what it will cost them to be able to effectively implement that role at no cost, at least at no, without any extra kind of salary, right?
Yes.
And I think that's because that gives the employer some sense of, okay, because even employers, as much as people also want you to volunteer, they're also thinking about what is the cost. It's one thing like giving me your time for free, right? But people also at least personally, I know I'll be hesitant to bring anybody on board who would travel all the way from Gwagwalada, for example, to Wuse to volunteer, because I know that they're incurring. It's not only I'm not only paying them, but they're also incurring costs to travel. So knowing fully well what the dynamics are, I think, and being upfront about that, I think will be really helpful. And I guess for people also looking for things within the area where you are, right? That allows you to spend the least amount of money to be able to do that. These are very practical, and I think these are very useful information for those who are listening. I can't really stress this enough, especially for younger people. If you're a college student, university student, please, by all means, even while you're in university. I think my first paid job was in my second year of university. I mean, I was working the job while I was, going to school. And as a matter of fact, my salary, so the monies that I worked paid through my school fees. So my parents, after they paid the first year, I mean, for context, I went to school in the US. So this is where a lot of, you're paying maybe X times more the number of money you would pay here. I mean, it's a lot of money. And I had 5 siblings. So my parents could afford to pay the first one comfortably. And then the next time, I'm also thinking about the fact that there are other people. It's not just me. So I had to think about what are other ways that I can make money to be able to support, myself, in addition to whatever it is that was coming out from the other side. So I think it's a very useful information. For those who are listening in, our phone lines are still open: 081 084 475 18, 081 084 475 18. You can call us, send us an SMS or WhatsApp message on 081 084 475 18. Let's talk again. Let's go back to talking about your experience now as an entrepreneur. Was there anything you had to do to prepare you? I mean, I know you had the vision to explore this path, but was there anything else you had to do to sort of prepare your mind or to sort of build your skills in one way or another to be able to be more effective at what you're doing now? Any trainings, like?
I joined a lot of youth organizations to when I first started Beyond the Classroom 13 years ago. My second year, I enrolled for a fellowship with the U.S. Consulate in Lagos, the Sci-Fi Fellowship, as they call it, Carrington Youth Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sponsored by the U.S. Consulate in Lagos. And it was a 1-year program that taught us how to do our nonprofit work better.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learned there how to budget, how to, reach out to fundraise online, social media, and that helped a lot. And when I was running back to entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship especially, I applied again. But I think that the U.S. Consulate in Lagos is calling my name for another U.S. mission-funded program. That's OR, Academy for Women Entrepreneurs. I applied and I got in because I just wanted to learn about entrepreneurship to prepare myself. And I met a lot of women entrepreneurs, those that are already doing amazing work. And so I started to understudy most of them. So I got the list of everyone that was enrolled in my class. I know everyone got it via email, but I'm not sure if anyone did what I did. And I went online and checked every single person. There were like over 200 online in that class. And I just started to segment, started to follow some interviews that some have had. And I learned about my co-op members much more than I did, because I wanted to learn from people's stories also. And that we had the platform that we learned how to do business better and also make money to budget. So for me, I don't think you should jump into any field without learning some sort of skill, preparing your mind for it. And that's why I always want to learn something first. And when I get into that field, you continue to learn. You don't just stop there. There's always something I'm looking for, especially on Coursera or anywhere. Just give me a training, give me an online course on entrepreneurship. Goldman Sachs, I think I've almost taken all their courses on entrepreneurship, and it's free. So I just keep taking the online courses and just learning how to be an effective leader and how to lead an organization and grow one. So yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. I guess speaking of leading an organization and growing an organization, what does that, because one of the things that people complain about, especially entrepreneurs in Nigeria, is human resources and managing human resources. What has that experience been like for you? We have a call on the line before you continue. Hello, good afternoon. What is your name and where are you calling us from? Hi. Hi, Kate. Okay, Kate? Yes, we can hear you. So you're trying to learn a skill, but you're not doing a good job of learning it. Kate, how old are you? Do you mind if I ask how old you are? How old are you? How old are you? You're 18. Are you in school? Are you in university now or in secondary school? Yes. Are you in secondary school or university now? Are you in school? Yeah. Okay. So what secondary school are you in? What secondary school are you in? Okay. So Okay, so when you say you're learning something but you're not learning it well, can you give us an example of what you're trying to learn? Yes, give us an example of what you're trying to learn and you're not learning well. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Okay, well, thank you, Kate. First of all, I'm going to let my guest, Raquel, answer your question. I hope you're tuned in, to listen to the response. But in the meantime, I'm also going to, because you're a first caller, I'm going to give you the book by Raquel. It's called Flow, and it's a girl's guide to menstruation. So I'll make sure I leave that book here in the studio. Whenever you're able to come to the studio, it will have your name. What's your surname, Kate?
Faith.
Faith? Oh, it's Faith. Your surname is what? S Ahua, like Ahua. Okay. Ahua. Okay, so we'll have that book for you in the studio by next week. So I'll let our guest answer your question now. Thank you so much for calling.
Okay. Okay, Faith. I hope you can hear me. So I had the same challenge when I was in senior secondary school. I also wanted to be a medical doctor, but I didn't like mathematics, just like you. I didn't like it. Yours is even different. You want to learn, but you're not getting it. I didn't like it at all. And so I had a teacher, and her name is Okechukwu. She sat me down and she asked me, what are you really good at? And I remember telling her music, art, and I listed everything. And she said to me, everything you've listed is around the arts, not around the sciences, because I didn't, but you just wanted to be a medical doctor because it was cool. And I felt offended at the time because I was a teenager, but looking back now, she actually said the truth, because I wanted to be a medical doctor because that's what everyone was saying at the time. But when I went to art class, I realized that literature was so easy for me. I could pick up any book in literature class and I'll read it and I'll summarize. And then I started to lead the class. By SS2, I would come out, summarize an entire book that I'd read. And everyone would like, wow, where are you from? I'm like, from sciences. And I'm like, thank God they sent you out. I'm like, no, I left. I left because it was hard I needed math to pass sciences, but I didn't need that for the art class. And so I excelled. So right now I'm working in the arts, you see, eventually, because everything now pointed me back to where I am. So I think you should sit down and really ask yourself why you want to be a medical doctor. Is it because someone in your family says you should be a medical doctor because it's cool? And then really look at what you're good at. Maybe this is not it. But if this really is what you really want to do, I think you should keep pushing. Find someone who can help you, tutor you, and help you find the easiest way. I think my husband says math is very easy. I don't know. For people who are science students, it says it's just about formula. So maybe find someone who's good at math to help you find the formula, and I think you will do well if that's what you really want to do.
I think that's really fantastic. I couldn't have said it better, Raquel. And Faith, if you're listening, I hope you find this useful, especially what Raquel said about really asking yourself why you're doing this. I know sometimes parents are also, to blame. They are pushing their kids. They're trying to achieve the careers and the dreams that they did not achieve through their children,
Yes.
right? So they're pushing you to be this and that. So, just have a conversation with yourself about, and the good thing is you're in SS1, so you still have some time to make some, changes, into your curriculum. So right now, if you're a science student, maybe ask yourself, is science really what I want to do? What makes you happy when you wake up in the morning? What are you most excited to do, right? And try to explore that path instead. We have just a few minutes left to round up. Our phone lines are still open for the last, I have two, and I really have to give these 2 books away. Otherwise, I have to call Raquel back so that we'll make sure we give these 2 books out. 08108447518, 08108447518. Raquel, just, I guess as we wrap up, for those who are listening, what is the best place for them to start, right? People who are seeking to be active citizens, all this while maybe they have a caller on the line. Nope. Okay, all these ways they haven't probably seen themselves as equal partners in nation building. Now they want to start. They've been inspired by, listening to you. What's the best way to start?
As long as it starts with you, everything starts with you. So, like I said to Faith, you have to sit down and ask yourself, what do you really want to do? So, with going into what's it called, the social space, is asking, where do I want to make the most change? You know, what problems in the sector, offends me, or where do I get angry at, or where do I get pained? Seeing that it's not working. It might be road. You're just angry that the roads are not fixed, or electricity, or education, or anything. You realize that your heart goes somewhere. Or maybe women empowerment. At some point for me, it was menstrual hygiene for girls, because I didn't have menstrual supplies when I was growing up, and so it was hard for over 2 years, having to manage all sort of supplies. So when I had to write a book about it, so that girls can learn how to manage their period better. And then I started to give girls free sanitary towels, because I was angry that girls didn't have access to them. Some girls drop out of school because of lack of sanitary towels. So you see, you have to find out what pains you, or what you're angry at. Like for me, it could be anything, or what excites you when it's working. So if the thing excites you when it works, and then it's not working, then you go fix it so that you can be happy. So it starts with you. So it's just that sitting down and looking. And you can also look at the Sustainable Development Goals. Just read through them, not just the title, but the added points, and say, okay, fine, what do they mean? What is the world trying to solve here? How can I be a part? When you read those and find people that are working in these areas, find if that kind of I know it's what ministers to you, but you connect with it in some way, you will know where to start from. But if it doesn't happen, jumping anywhere for now.
That's right, jumping anywhere. Yeah, just make the most of what you have access to. And let's talk about VoluServe, right? Because you already have a platform that you've created to help people to sort of navigate, that challenge. So talk about VoluServe. We have a call. This person is a very lucky person. Hello, good afternoon. What is your name and where are you calling us from, please? Hello. Good afternoon, sir. Please, what is your name and where are you calling from? Your name is what? Ebenezer, and you're calling from? Durumi? Okay, so Ebenezer, what's your question? The question what? Okay, can you speak up, Ebenezer, just a little bit, or maybe increase the volume of your telephone? Okay, so what's your question? Oh, all right. So tell us, for VoluServe, how do people get involved, and how can they access? Yeah, how can they sign up to be a part of it and learn how? Yes, get opportunities to volunteer.
Is www.voluserve.com. Non-profits, when you go on the platform, you just see if you're a non-profit, click here. If you're a volunteer, click here. So non-profit, sign up and put up the opportunities. And as a volunteer, you sign up, you create a profile, and then you have access to click on any volunteer opportunity on the platform. You can see the opportunities, but if you click on it, it asks you to sign up before you can. So for some volunteer opportunities, when you just click volunteer, it sends the message automatically to the non-profit, sends them an email that somebody is volunteering, and it's already stored on the platform. But for positions like maybe twice a week, it's not just one-off volunteering opportunity. You have to, there's a process where the non-profit has to now select you for the opportunity, and then it also chronicles and has a history of your volunteering opportunities that you've taken from our websites on the platform and etc.
All right, so www.voluserve.com. Do you have social media handles?
So VoluServe on Instagram, VoluServe on LinkedIn, VoluServe everywhere.
What about you? How do people reach you?
The Raquel Daniel everywhere.
The Raquel Daniel. So the TheRaquel right? And when you go on her platform, you'll be able to connect to see all the other different things she's connected to, and then the joyride continues from there. On that note, I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this conversation. I'm still going to be giving out these 2 books. Perhaps we'll find other programs within Radio Maria to give them out. So make sure that you're tuned in on this station, because we have to make sure that the children who really need to benefit from all the knowledge in this book can benefit from them. We want to thank Raquel especially for being a part of this program. Thank you for honoring our invitation and for sharing all your personal experience, your professional experience, and all the nuggets that you've shared with our listeners today. We greatly appreciate it. We wish you all the best with Bambini Books, with VoluServe, with Beyond Classroom Foundation, with literally all the initiatives that you're a part of. And for our listeners, those who our regular listeners and those tuning in for the first time today, thank you so much for calling in and for tuning in every Friday. Until we come your way again 4 p.m. next week, I hope that you enjoy the rest of the week, and just make sure that you're able to verify your details. I think this is my parting note. For those of you who already registered to vote for next year, INEC has released, the list of all the people. Just go to your polling area. You can also check this online. Just make sure that you verify that your details are right, and if it's not, raise some objections so that all of that can be, taken care of before next week. Actually, the deadline is today for something, I think, and then it moves into the area council or something like that. But we'll bring you some public service announcement on this so that you're tracking. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your week. Signing off from the Office of the Citizen.